But that's one of the areas where a book could help you is what the producer want to make sure of is two things. And you'd think that the first one is that you're entertaining and you've got a good message for the audience. That's the second one. The first one is he doesn't want to do anything that'll get him fired.
Yeah.
Welcome to Apartment Syndication Made Easy podcast, where we simplify the world of syndication. Join us as we unravel the complexities and provide you with valuable insights to help you invest smartly. Get ready to take your investments to the next level, one episode at a time. Here's your host, Mr. Vinney Smiles Chopra.
Good morning, Vinney.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you so much for having me on the show today. And
It's such a pleasure, such a pleasure. I've come to know you. What a tremendous publisher you are, and making the books #1 on Amazon. And a lot of my friends have, used your services. What a great background you shared with me. So I'm so glad to have you on my show.
yeah, just a little bit about my background before we get into the books. And I also
Sure.
want to talk about branding in general for syndicators. And just so your audience knows, I was a real estate syndicator in the 80s. I became a land developer. And then 14 years ago, I decided that I'd had enough and I wanted to find something more relaxing in my retirement years. So I founded a book publishing company, and it specializes just in working with businesses to help them attract more customers. So we don't do any fiction or memoirs or anything like that. We solely work with people where, like you, where we take them through an
Mm,
entire interview process to get all their ideas out of their minds, but they only do the interviews. And
yeah.
usually, depending on the topic they want to do an interview on, it takes 10 to 12 of their hours. And
Mm,
then my writers do everything else. But we're very cognizant that we need to keep the author's voice in it because
sure.
each author has a certain style. And we like to say that if your mother reads the book, we want her to know you wrote it. And
Sure.
that's what we strive for, and it's worked pretty well for us. Usually takes, depending on the schedule of the author, somewhere between 3 and 6 months to complete the
Mm.
total book. And as because you've written several good books of your own, it can take a
Thank you.
couple hundred hours to get it written, and I hope people appreciate that. And Vinney has written all of his books, including we've got two that are almost ready to publish, folks. So you really want to pay attention because I'm sure Vinney will be announcing them all on social media and here on the podcast. But
Yeah.
we actually have two different styles, though. One for the syndicators about assisted living facilities, since that's such a
Yes.
great investment right now. But we
Mhm.
have another one about prosperity. And
Yes.
that's something that people don't hear about very often, or if they hear about it, they hear about it from people that may or may not be real prosperous. Whereas with Vinny is prosperous. He actually knows what it's like to live that life. You've got what, close to $1 billion of under
Yeah.
management now?
Yes,
That's
you're
that.
so right. Yeah, Mike, it's been a humbling experience and all the track. About 16 years back, I started with 14 units for $180,000. But with this power of syndication, which I wrote the book Apartment Syndication Made Easy, which became Amazon top seller. You're right. It's the positivity of my mind, mindset, everything combined. We have AUM of about over $1 billion now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unusual for people that are as busy as you to take the time to give back, which is what the Prosperity book really
Yeah.
is, showing people why you're able to live the lifestyle that you live. And I think it's going to be real fun for the people that
Thank
follow you because everybody knows that big smile, but they're going to find out a little bit of how you keep that big smile. And I think it's
uh,
wonderful that you did that book too, not
uh,
just the book on assisted living, which of course you're crushing it in right now. And I
mm,
strongly suggest that if someone is looking for a niche, that's a good niche. The demographics are exploding there. The cash flow is phenomenal, but it does take expertise to keep staffing in place,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because it's not a pure real estate play.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
business with
It's a
management.
business. So
Uh,
true. So
yeah,
very true. So
and
very true.
those books will both hit #1. We always guarantee that, folks, but it's a little
Yeah.
easier with the following like Vinney has. We're pretty excited about that here at Branded Expert Press. What I'd like to do is give them a general overview of how to build a reputation.
Sure.
And one thing I've got to suggest to everyone is the very first thing is the smaller the niche you niche down into,
Hmm.
the more
Hmm.
micro it is, the
Hmm.
better you'll do. It's the opposite of what most people think. Most people think we can do everything for every. When someone tells me they can do everything in the real estate business, I realize they can't do anything in the real estate business. You guys need to pick the type of properties, the locations. Do you want to be local? Do you want to be regional? Do you want to be nationwide? Do you want to focus on new built construction? Do you want to focus on Class A
Hmm.
properties or maybe B and Cs that have potential for value added, which
Hmm.
is the sweet spot that a lot of my other syndication authors work
Sure.
in? But there's deals wherever the people live if they work hard enough. Even in a hot market that you think nobody can do anything in, like California,
Hmm.
Vinney's found great deals in California. It just takes work. But it's much easier to stay within your region and your driving distance to the
Yes.
properties as you
So true.
start. And because it's expensive to jump on an airplane and go look at a
Yes.
property before you
Hmm.
even have a deal. So most new people, I say, look real hard in your own backyard, and
Hmm.
you'll find an area of specialization that's overlooked. And you need to move quickly when you do that. So right in tandem with
Hmm.
finding the property is finding the investors. And
So
that's what we're going
true.
to talk about today, folks.
Mm.
It's you've got to be very congruent, because if people see your website and it projects you in a certain way, then they go to LinkedIn and LinkedIn says you work at some other place. Total disconnect. You're done right then with that investor.
Mm.
So your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook, everything that's public facing, those are the only two that I use. There's a
Hmm.
bunch of other social media out there if the people want to use those, but I
Yes.
strongly suggest that they never skip LinkedIn and that they choose
Hmm.
another one that they're familiar with. And I like Instagram, some people who do,
Instagram is,
yeah,
yep.
rather than Facebook.
Instagram.
That's much more visual. So they need to be aware of that, as to Facebook can be a lot more just posting the
Hmm.
written word. Find the one or two areas in social media. As your company grows, you can hire staff that has expertise in those other areas, and you can start to post in those areas. But you can't spend time 4 hours a day playing with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok
Hmm.
and X. And there's 20 new ones probably if I looked at my last week's email.
So true, Mike. But the branding, positioning yourself is so important in the mind of the investors or any kind of avatar, I call it, that you're seeking your business to grow in.
Is so true. And Vinney is such a great example of it, folks. If you go to his social media, go to his website, you're going to see proper branding. But I'm going to show you how to do how I did my own personal site, just so you
Mhm.
guys can get an idea of what I call it an ego site. Because what you're doing is you're expressing all the things to people you'd like them to know, but
Yeah.
it's on a website. If you did it verbally, it would sound arrogant, just
Mhm.
like the intro videos that you and I use when we have speaking
Yes.
engagements. The
Yep.
people, the announcer on the intro can say things that if we said them personally, people would, they either wouldn't believe it, or they'd
Mhm.
think we were a schmuck.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like I can't hold up a check where I got paid $1 million in one day, but the
Mhm.
announcer talks about it and he can say it. So
So
those are
true.
the kind of things, and those are some of the tools that I'm going to grab the screen and share my own
Sure.
personal site.
Please.
It will just
Sure.
take a minute here.
Sure. No worries. No. No, this is really exciting, guys. You remember, this is a very important podcast, and we'll be doing reels and shorts because we want you to get the most out of it, and come back and share and comment and share this episode with other people also. Give us 5-star reviews. I know Vinny's always asking for those, you know.
We're going to make it sure it's a 5-star show. So I'm going to grab a site now and
Sure.
let's see, show all
Surely it's
windows.
coming up. Yep, it
Uh,
should.
it will
It
be here in a minute, but I don't know where the heck it went, Vinny. So,
No
uh,
worries. And again, I do want to
um,
say that you could listen to it on Twitter. No, not Twitter, Stitcher, as well as uh, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about iTunes, and
and
also on the video of this whole podcast is on my YouTube channel also, right there, YouTube channel, Vinney Chopra. And then also I have the TikTok account and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook pages and LinkedIn. Like Mike said, LinkedIn is not a recruiting site anymore. LinkedIn has become a very big drawer of putting yourself out in the open, in the public eyes, who you are and what kind of posts you are doing and what's your specialty, and putting several links on LinkedIn so that people can reach your landing pages and reach your websites and look at your all the different posts and things like that.
I would do in your industry, you might want to do a preferred property page
Yes, yep,
where you
yep.
show people the type of properties. Don't just tell them you want B ones that have a value added potential in the Southwest United States. Tell them
Hmm.
about it, folks. Show them pictures of them. Show
Yeah,
them a before and after picture if you did a lot on the exterior. The credibility those give is just phenomenal. And
yeah.
most of the things you saw there, Vinney actually has learned to do through the School of Hard Knocks over the last 20 or 30 years. And what
Yeah,
we're doing is telling you how to do it right now instead of you having the ups and downs that most of us have when we start a business. So
so
I think
true.
that's so important to have a nice, clean, even if you start out with just one page, folks, like a landing page where you can
Hmm.
capture people, and you don't have the time or the money probably to do all of these things in one step. But when you know the destination, you can gradually add things as you accumulate them. And
Hmm.
that's what I really recommend. If you've got a unique name, you can get, if you noticed, it was C. Mike Lewis.
Hmm. Hmm.
I go by Mike Lewis, but my first name is actually Charles. And I've done books for some of the top SEO people in the country. And I had problems ranking for my own name. There's a guy named Mike Lewis that's done way over a dozen books, Moneyball and what's the bull one? Several of them have been made into major motion pictures. I got
Sure.
ahead of him on SEO by working my butt off. But there was a young kid named Mike Lewis that was a former swimmer and now he's a model. And he
Oh,
appeared on the front page of Cosmopolitan wearing just a top hat, covering
oh.
what it needed to cover. And folks, I don't care how good you are at SEO, if there's thousands of little teeny boppers clicking on his site, you're not going to beat him. So my SEO guy said, Mike, you're going to have to change your name. And so I said, could I just put my first name initial in front of Mike
Yeah.
Lewis? And within 48 hours, we were crushing it on SEO.
Ah.
And of course, you've got a fairly unique name, but if it wasn't Vinney, folks, if it was another name that was very common with Chopra, he'd
Yes.
have a real problem because Chopra's a very common name in some
Yeah.
parts of the world.
Yeah.
If your name's Patel, good luck ranking for
Yes.
hotels unless you put something unique in front of that. You're
So
just not
true.
going to rank. And so you have to think about that, folks. And while we're talking about SEO, I didn't mention that on LinkedIn, when you do your about, they
Hmm.
allow you to do what they used to call keyword stuffing.
Yeah.
So You can do a nice paragraph about you, but then below there you can put that you like to purchase B apartments. You like to purchase C shopping centers. You like to, they'll let you load up all these keywords. And what that does is when someone is searching on LinkedIn for a syndicator of B properties, LinkedIn's all algorithm is going to find that, and it's going to bring you up fairly high in the results. So that's another space where don't write a short about. Use every single letter that LinkedIn gives you. You can do a 2 or 3 line space between the about you that you've already got and these things that you're doing to increase your SEO. Or the other thing you can do is there are specialists in how to do a LinkedIn profile. And when I was first starting, I did use one of those. And folks, I was embarrassed by how many mistakes I had made on what I thought was a great LinkedIn file. And so again, professionals on your team do make a difference. And some of the syndicators, I don't know Vinney's number, because I didn't ask him, but some of my other syndicators spend up to $10,000 in marketing for every one investor that they find. So spending $500 to spruce up your LinkedIn is cheap. It's amazing. I'm surprised I can't see that leaf blower guy out there, but pretty good trick. But some of the other things, folks, that you need, obviously later I'm going to talk about a book and how you can use the book, but you need that authority site, and you need to make sure that every customer or referral, when they Google you, they're going to see good things. If you've had some blemishes in the past, and some of us have, folks, the reason I'm no longer developing real estate is I had a $60,000, I wish it was 60,000, a $60 million bankruptcy. But when I went bankrupt between 09 and 011, it was brutal. But several Wall Street firms suggested that I find a different way to make a living. A couple of them insisted on it. But that's going to show up if you Google me, but you're going to have to go several pages back before you find it, folks, because all of my good stuff is pushing that. You can't get it removed, but you can push it down in your results. And if you don't know how to do that, again, there's people that can help you with that. So if you had a bad deal and there's a lot of stuff posted on LinkedIn or on Google when they search for it, you need to fix that, because that was in the past. That's not who you are now or how you're doing business now. Get it off of there. And then speaking gigs, we spoke about that a little earlier. There's tremendous competition by a lot of really sharp guys to get on stages. So the only way that you're going to get on stage if you're new is either to speak at small venues near you, like Chamber of Commerce or the Kiwanis or the Lions Club, those kind of things. And that's where you can get those videos at. The chamber's not gonna video you. You bring someone with you to do your video. And I would do that at every speaking event until you've got so many of them that you don't know what to do with them. Because I'm not sure how many different events they show on your sizzle reel, but it's a bunch, isn't it, Vinney? You've got, this isn't, gee, he got up and spoke one time. So you accumulate those things, folks. That's all you can do. But there's one other way, and that's the pay to play that I spoke about earlier. There are events where if you're willing to write a check as a sponsor, they'll give you, some events, they'll give you 15 minutes for X dollars. And then if you pay a little more, you get 20 minutes. And if you pay enough, you become one of the keynote speakers for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And you'll have to decide on that as your budget allows you to. You'll want to start out on 500 person stages, but that isn't how it happens. When you go to one of the events Vinney's speaking at, I promise you, every other speaker there has done what they say they're doing and are successful. Because even if you want to pay to play, the promoter's still going to check you out before he takes your money.
Sure.
And especially in these big audiences, if you want to speak to, I don't know, the Home Builders Association as a
Hmm.
keynote, you better be
Hmm.
famous on TV, because
Yeah.
they're putting you in front of somewhere north of 100,000 people. They want to make
Hmm.
sure that those 100,000 people all know who you are. But
True. So
but lots
true.
of secondary stages, which is where I spoke at for those events.
Hmm.
And that was fine for me because I only wanted a very small percentage of the realtors that were attending that convention to know about
Hmm.
me. Yeah, so I had a room with maybe 75 people in it, but 50 of those 75 people were people I wanted to do business with. So it works, and it works really well. And then media coverage. A lot of people, when they're trying to get on TV, morning talk show locally and that sort of thing, they try to contact in the trade, they call it the meat, but the talent. We'll call
Hmm.
it the talent. They try to go after the guy that's, or the girl that's in front of the camera. That's so wrong. You want to go to the producer, because the producer has to fill that airtime an hour, 2 hours every day, five
Hmm.
days a week. So they've got a lot of space. But that's one of the areas where a book could help you, is what the producer want to make sure of is two things. And you'd think that the first one is that you're entertaining and you've got a good message for the audience. That's the
Hmm.
second one. The first one is he doesn't want to do anything that'll get him fired.
Yeah.
And
So
so
true.
if you can show him where you've spoke, where
Yeah.
you've and you show that you're an author of a best-selling book, that's a real big one for TV. Folks, if you watch CNN, when they bring these consultants in, if they've done a book in the last 20 years, they'll say, and Joe so-and-so, author of blah, blah, blah,
Mm.
best-selling book, because they want to show that you're credible.
Mm.
And you do
So
that with the
true.
producers. And in your local area, let the producers know, when you give them a copy of your book, right inside it, that if they ever need a guest with short notice, that you will
Hmm.
jump in your car and you'll be there. Because it happens, folks. The producer has the show totally booked and
Hmm.
somebody drops out. If he remembers that he's got you and that you'll get in your car and drive the 10 minutes to the studio,
They
you're gonna
will.
get you're
Yeah.
gonna get on TV where you might not have got on it. And
So.
I think the the next two I'm gonna skip over. All I'm doing, folks, is telling you about the chapters in my book. So yeah, we all have cliff notes. In the book industry, I don't need them, but when I'm talking about these other areas of building your brand, I do.
No, easy.
And another one is to use a professional photographer and do a photo shoot. Bring
Hmm.
multiple outfits with you. If you always wear a black suit, bring multiple ties with you. Pick the venue that you want him to shoot you in. If you
Hmm.
want to project that you're a real free spirit, go to the beach and
Hmm.
have them shoot pictures there. If you don't, go somewhere where they have a gorgeous fireplace with leather chairs in
Hmm.
front of it and sit there with that one. If you're a hard charging syndicator, one of the best poses is to get behind a conference table, put
Yes.
both hands on the conference table and
Mm.
lean forward. That's telling people that you're here to do business and you're excited to do
Hmm.
business. And the professional photographer, they don't cost that much.
Sure.
And I know, because I have done some of Vinney's books, that he has a plethora of professional photographs. But you can immediately tell that these weren't shot offhand with a cell phone.
Mm.
Whereas when you saw the pictures of me at events, those were shot with cell phones, obviously, and it's
Hmm.
very apparent that they were shot with cell phones. And
Hmm.
that's okay, but the more professional you can look, the better. So on my media page, they're all professional shots of me. And that also gives you tools to use in your blog posts, in your email signature, anything that you're doing. It helps to have people see a picture of you, and you want a picture that tells people without saying it that you're a pro. I wish I had thought to put an example of a professional and a non-professional headset, but you guys go to LinkedIn and you're going to see a bunch of different ones. I use excuse me, Vinny, I use actually a caricature that I had drawn at the, let's see, the National Insurance
Oh,
Agents.
really?
Yeah,
Yes,
called the
yes,
Million
yes.
Dollar Table. This wonderful artist drew one of me, and when people see it, they say, "That's Mike,"
That's right.
no question. And so that allows me a broader, excuse me,
Sure. No, I've seen that. That's a very nice one. Mike.
I work with a lot of different industries. So
Mhm.
some industries having a suit and a tie on is actually a detriment, especially in the what I'll call the touchy-feely type of
Mhm.
industries, life
Mhm.
coaches and all that. And
Yeah.
I just love when a 21-year-old life coach calls me up to do a book. I
Yeah.
say, live another 10 or 20 years and get back to me. But the next thing, folks, is one that Vinney and I have both used successfully, and that's press releases.
Yes,
And
yes.
they do cost a little bit, but boy, it's
Yeah.
very polleny here in South Florida this time of year,
Oh,
folks. And
it is.
I
Yeah.
apologize for that, but our lawn people were here this morning, and so the pollen's all up in the air. But the press release will get out to a lot of locations. If it's
Mhm.
properly done, you're going to get 400 or 500 websites from TV stations and that sort of thing. And
Mhm.
that way you can honestly claim on your website that you were seen on
Yes.
ABC, you were seen on
Yeah.
CBS, because you
Yeah.
always want to do things that are truthful, folks. You
Sure.
never ever want to lie, because it'll come back to haunt you. You can't remember
Mhm.
a lie, but you can remember the truth.
So.
And when I, in my early years, it took me a little while to learn that one. But the next one, folks, is expertise by association. If you get someone like me or someone like Vinney asking you to be on a podcast, take it. Take
Mhm.
it. Don't be scared. A good host like Vinney, he'll help you. If you start to stumble, he'll stop the
Mhm.
podcast and help you fix it. He wants his viewers to see the very best show that they can see.
So,
And so don't be afraid of that. When you're at events, even if you're not speaking,
yeah, you want to be best.
I was
Yes.
exhibiting at the one that Damon was at, uh,
Hmm.
but I wasn't speaking. So
Right.
as soon as he got off stage and left the room, I asked him in the hallway, would you please take a photograph with me? And
Mhm.
folks, I've never run into anybody that said no to that. Uh,
Mhm. So,
I have had people that the promoter wanted me to have a picture with, but I refused to, but because you want to associate with good people. And
mhm.
of course, Damon is what I would consider a good person. He's very
Sure.
giving and all that. All of those
Sure.
people in those pictures were after the November event. You'll see a picture of me and Vinney at his book signing. I guarantee that'll be on my website, folks, because I'm doing quite a bit in the real estate area because of my history. And so I
Sure.
want people to know that I associate with Vinney.
Ah,
And
thank you. Thank
and
you.
have you ever told somebody no when they asked to take a picture with you, Vinny? Evidently.
Never,
No,
never,
no, and
never.
neither have I. Folks, you're actually edifying us when you say you want your picture taken with us. And
Sure.
that's what we've worked our butts off building these reputations for.
So true.
And typically, the more successful the people are, the more generous they are. It's
Mhm.
the exact opposite of what people that haven't associated with successful people think. They think, oh, I
Mhm.
can never approach him. He's so this or so that.
Yeah.
No, the people that get to be that good are always, well, I can't say always, are most of the time
Most of the time.
very giving people and happy to
Sure.
help you. Vinny's not scared of you finding a deal and taking it away from him
Yeah.
because he's got deal flow like you guys wouldn't believe. I'm sure the no pile is a lot higher than the yes pile because there's only so many hours that he can work. And so I hope that happens to all of you. The next thing is, if you're in an industry that you want to coach and teach in, you might want to do a product, create your
Mhm.
own product. And then I'm going to jump way back to the first one now, and that's a book, folks.
Yeah.
And I I don't know that Vinney can tell you an exact number of how many books he's given away and how many people have come up with his book that they bought on Amazon and asked him to
Hmm.
sign it and that sort of thing. It's I'm a publisher, so I hate to say it, but books make you look like an expert.
That's so true.
And
So very true.
it's
Yeah.
because of our history, folks. A couple hundred years ago, it was pretty unlikely that the general public even owned one book. If they did, it was the Bible, and they didn't own
Yeah.
any other books. So books were considered something for the wealthy. And then
Yeah.
it got to where books were considered something for the very educated.
Hmm.
And now books are a proof of expertise. Folks, how many times have you heard them introduce a guy and say, he wrote the book on syndicating? I'm sure Vinney gets introduced that
Quoting,
way quite
yeah.
often because he has a wonderful book already out on
Yeah.
Amazon on syndicating. And
And the positivity book also. I've been
well, yeah,
getting
it's going to
lots
be
and
out
lots
soon.
of, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, I did write one
Oh,
positivity
that's
book. This
right.
is the
The
second one.
original one. I
This is
forgot we
the
were doing a
second,
second
yeah.
version.
So the
Yes.
second version,
Yeah.
which will be more expanded, I rewrote it along
Yeah.
with Mike's help, and I'm so proud that
Yeah.
will be launched. And then Senior Living, Investing Made Easy, which is
Right. And
another with the Silver Tsunami
and I
opportunity.
promise you, folks, as he goes into different areas, there'll be more books. Because
Yes.
uh, Vinney has proof positive that those books have helped elevate him. And if you go
Yes.
to an event, you'll find that the majority of the speakers on stage all have a published book. And folks,
Yes.
that's a clue. You know,
Yeah.
that's a real clue. I won't mention any of the other books that I've done in real estate, but you would recognize every single person's name if I said them. And just like
Agree.
you recognize Vinney's name, if you're in a
Mm.
syndication event and you mention Vinney's name, anybody
Ah,
that's experienced is going to recognize that name. And
yeah.
a lot of it's from his hard work, but a lot of it's from what the book has done for him.
No,
And
thank you. So true, Mike. I really want to challenge everybody. I know sometimes we feel it's very hard, but I'm not a good writer, but I spoke into the microphone
mhm,
and those
yeah,
ideas got transformed into pages. So
yeah,
to leave a legacy behind, that's the best thing because we learned so much over the course of our life. It's always, I say that everybody's got a book or two or three
yeah,
books in their career that they should write and leave a legacy. So I hope you really have enjoyed this
yeah.
episode with brother Mike Lewis from Florida. And Mike, thank you for giving so many great nuggets. It was
You're very
just
welcome,
lovely,
Vinny. I
lovely.
was great to be a guest. And like
Yeah,
I said, folks, don't die with your message still inside of you. The cemetery is full of great stories that never got told. Don't let yours be one of them. It's
true, so true.
start today, even if you do it all on your own,
Mhm.
but start, and
Time to start.
it will change your life.
For sure. How can people reach you, Mike? Please
Oh,
tell us.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's for your group, Vinny. I'll give my personal email number, and that's
Okay.
Mike at brandedexperts, plural.com. So Mike
Beautiful.
at brandedexperts.com. If
.com.
they want to know more about my book company, that's .com.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful.
and of course, you guys know how to check me out personally because I show
Yes.
you.
Yeah, please look at the YouTube version if you are listening to the iTunes or Stitcher or like that, because on the YouTube version you'll see the whole thing in action and everything. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you,
such a
Vinny.
pleasure. Such a pleasure.
And by the way, Vinny, I want you on my podcast as soon as
I
we
will
can.
be. Yes,
Okay,
I'm
great.
looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mike.
goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.